Ladies and gents, welcome back you lovely faces to a brand new video. So, over the last couple of days, literally all we've been putting out and talking about is this Online Safety Act. And that is because we are seeing so much crap come from this act, it's unbelievable. So I saw these and I was like, you know what? These people, it's actually very, very true what they're talking about. And as you can see, we have one by here. This is from the 2nd of August, so on Saturday. Labour can't ignore the Online Safety Act's harms. It must act to fix them. Although it became law almost 2 years ago, the UK Online Safety Act is finally biting. This week, internet users in the UK will have found themselves blocked from accessing all kinds of content, from Goya paintings, Livy quotes, to satirical tweets about the Prime Minister. Yes, those have been banned and censored. Absolutely bizarre. The backlash to the newly age-gated internet have been loud and immediate, but we are still only in the early stages of the Act's implementation. UK users will soon face further waves of restrictions on what they can access and say online, as more complex provisions and obligations come into force over the coming months. Although the new restrictions for access to these sites have grabbed the headlines and launched 1,000 memes. Yeah, so one of the things that has come about with this here, and some of the memes, is you can get into the UK with ease and without going on P-Hub. Yeah, you can do that better and more easily than accessing adult content online. It's absolutely ridiculous. So the categories of speech that must now be blocked for UK users are far broader than just adult content. Content that is considered harmful to children must now be age-gated for everyone. Censorship has ranged from the absurd to the deeply troubling. In just 1 week, censorship has ranged from the absurd to the deeply troubling. Internet users in the UK trying to access support pages for alcohol addiction or this will now find their way bad. Survivors of this can no longer freely access advice and support groups on Reddit. Content about what's going on in the world in like Ukraine or whatever has been blocked. This is the problem. There are even alarming reports of social media sites blocking political and legal content, with UK users unable to see parliamentary speeches and legislative amendments calling for an inquiry into these gangs without first verifying their age. This is what we were talking about, folks. This is how absurd it all is. When faced with complex obligations and massive fines, many platforms will give up any attempt to allow free discourse online and will instead clamp down on all speech with no nuance or respect for our right to share and seek information. And you got Graham Smith, who could have predicted that platforms would be bad at making difficult and nuanced content moderation judgments, some of which may have no obvious correct answer at scale and at speed. Effectively, UK internet users now only have access to a child-proofed version of the internet, unless they undergo online age verifications. Platforms are farming these checks out to a host of third-party companies, which is what we talked about in the last couple of videos, folks, where they literally want, as you can see by here, a range of deeply personal information, from biometric face scans to copies of your passport. No. The risk of a data breach or hack could be devastating. Understandably, many users, particularly LGBT people, victims of stalking or this, whistleblowers and journalists, will feel uncomfortable handing over their ID and linking it to their online activity. It is. This is what we've been talking about. This is how bad it's gotten, and it's only been out for a week. That's how bad it is. And you're going to see, like I say, these have just put out people who are in serious harm's way if stuff of theirs leaked. You know? Well, the victims of this, whistleblowers and journalists, yeah, it's absolutely insane. It really is. Because, say you're a journalist, and say you got a story that's broken and you've done a lot with that story. So, you basically a whistleblower. You could get done. You could get found out who you are. Right, go get them. That could happen. When you got victims of stalking and DV, these people, they could just keep getting that stuff against them and harassment against them if any of this stuff got leaked. This is the problem. It literally has not been thought through. And like I said, in 2023, we did a video where a 300-page bill of this Online Safety Act went into Parliament. And that's when it was allowed to go, yes, we will have this. And it was postdated until 2025, last week here. It's not good. And as they say by here, the government appears to have stuck its fingers in its ears. As has been the case in so many areas of public life, the outgoing Conservative government left behind the mess. The Online Safety Act is no different, sloppily drafted, vague and overbroad, and handing any future Secretary of State considerable power to designate certain kinds of content as harmful and worthy of censorship. And as we were saying with this act or bill, when it went through in 2023, there was so much of it put through, and it went through quietly because no less than 3 to 4 hours later, the UK government sent letters saying about this online act to YouTube, TikTok, X, Rumble, Instagram, all these places, and they all told everyone, you need to demonetize Russell Brand. Because if you remember, at that time, he was accused. And the UK government, we've just implemented this. It's going to come into action in 2025, but you need to do this now. Which is wrong. Because at that time, not now, but at that time, he was accused. And seeing all of this and how they're doing it is not right. It's absolutely disgusting. And it says by there, while the act was overhauled through Parliament by a succession of Conservative governments and ever-changing roster of ministers, the Labour opposition, which to be honest with you now is Tory light, they provided no meaningful scrutiny. What could have been an opportunity for thoughtful and detailed technology policy was lost, and the only criticism from the Labour benches was that the bill did not go far enough. So, one thing by here we're going to look at now. Statements from the Secretary of State for Technology, this guy here, Peter Kyle. He has gone on there and he said, if you want to overturn the Online Safety Act, you are on the side of predators. Now, do you want to know what is funny about him saying this and how this guy is such a hypocrite? This man he voted no and signed off on it for a national inquiry into the gangs that do horrible things to kids. He said no. He voted no, not to look into it. But now, protect the children, protect the children. Where were you, mate, when you said no to having a national inquiry into all those horrible things that were going on? You said no one needs to look into it. Why? Are you involved? Have you got videos or stuff on your hard drives, Mr. Peter Kyle? What have you got? What are you so opposed to of that? Have you got shares in these companies that are taking all this data? There's so many ways that we can call this Peter Kyle one of the worst people in the world. Because, again, we've said something on this channel a lot. When you see people screaming and shouting and they're going online saying, well, if you oppose this, you're this. It's normally called projecting. And we have always found the people who are projecting, and we found out that they are horrible people, that they do what they tell people, oh no, that's bad. They normally are those people. But censorship and surveillance are not silver bullet solutions to a generation of children being sucked into wormholes of harmful online content. Instead, adults and children alike are being placed at risk of security breaches, hacks, leaks, digital exclusion, and a shuttered internet. The Online Safety Act is not fit for purpose, which is not. Rather than carrying the Tory albatross around their necks, the Labour government should return to the drawing board to make sure we're all safe online without sacrificing our most fundamental rights. Yeah, and freedom of speech. That is exactly true. It's interesting to see that I grew up in the generation where we had the websites like rotten.com and all these other nasty kind of like, oh my god, shock websites. How come it's taken them 25 years to actually go, we need to police the internet? You know, it's taken them this long, which is absolutely bizarre, and it's sad to see. But we got something else by here, which we are going to look in the next video. But folks, what do you think about this? Let us know down below. Are you opposed to the bill? I am. Do you use a VPN? If yes, great. If no, I would suggest looking into them. Make sure they are paid ones though, because some of the free ones, they sell your data, which sucks. But let us know down below, folks. Like and subscribe, and I will see you soon.